How are you doing today, Mr. Wren?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Good. I
Um,
appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk to me a little bit about what occurred that you'd witnessed um,
yeah,
outside of Pitt's grocery store.
yes, yes. No
Um,
problem.
could you tell me what your full name is?
Well, my full name is Grady Wren, and my friends just call me Grady.
Okay. Well, do you remember what occurred when Mr. Delancey was injured?
Um, if you the guy that I don't know his name, but I was across the street, and I just saw a guy fall out, and so that was I don't know what led to that, nothing like that. I just saw him fall.
Oh, okay. Was there anybody around else that you saw around at the time that he fell?
Well, when he fell, um. No, and it didn't like nobody had pushed him or something. It's like he just fell out. That was about it.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate, like I said, you taking the time to meet with me. We're just trying to do the best that we can to help Mr. Delancey. He's had some pretty serious injuries, and we're just trying to figure out what all has occurred. And hopefully, if we get through this today, you won't have to see me again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it definitely it's definitely kind of uncomfortable. Um, you know, um, with this issue, but
I can understand the uncomfortableness with it. We're just trying to get a better picture to figure out what happened, and I don't want to do this any more than you want to do this. So hopefully we can get all the information we need, and you won't have to see me again. But I do appreciate your cooperation. Do you remember? You said you saw him fall down on the sidewalk. Where were you at?
well, I was across the street. I own a gas station. I'm across the street actually.
Okay,
So
that's great. How long have you had the gas station there?
well, I mean, my family had it before me. It's been passed down, so it's been in the family for over 30 years.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, Mr. Delancey, the gentleman that fell down, did you were you still around when the police officers showed up?
Yes, I was actually right there with Mr. Delancey. I was
Okay.
outside. When I saw him fall out, I went over to assist him. I was just finishing putting some gas in a customer's car, and I was
Uh-huh.
able to face the area. I was just sitting there pumping gas, and I had just finished, and I was screwing on the top, and so I got fall. So I mean, I deal with I mean, any person I would hope in that position would do. I went over to uh, to help him, but I didn't understand what was going on.
Sure. Well, it's great that you went over to help him. Do you remember, did he have any injuries when you went over to see him initially?
Well,
Was he injured anywhere?
his arms and legs were like twitching really, really bad, and um, his head was bumping against the concrete there. So that I mean that definitely raised some red flags. I didn't um So what I did was, well, his head was hitting the concrete pretty hard, so I tried to hold his head up to prevent it from continuously hitting the concrete. And his eyes were open, but it didn't seem like he really saw anything. So I didn't know what was going on. It was just very alarming to see somebody in that situation. You know,
Sure. Yeah, well, it sounds like it's the best thing that you could have helping them out and trying to uh, keep them from getting further injuries. So that's great. I think it's great for you to go in and assist them when maybe sometimes other people wouldn't have been as likely to. Um, so you said he was shaking and you were trying to protect his head. Was that before the police arrived?
yes, ma'am. That was before the police arrived.
Oh, and what happened when the police arrived?
Well, when the police arrived, they tried to um get him on his get him from laying down and get him to stand up, and they tried to get him inside of the police car. Um, they tried to his arms were just swinging around, still kind of twitching, and they tried to get his arms from just moving. Um, I mean, I feel like they were doing the right thing because all of the moving didn't seem safe for him when they did that. I continued to hold his head while they tried to uh, take control of, stabilize, I guess would be the word, his arms movements.
Right.
So I held his head, and until one of the officers told me to just step back from from the guy, and I did what the officers told me to do.
Sure. You said the police officers had see them. Do you know the police around before?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Oh, the police officers that arrived. Do you know seen them in the neighborhood before?
Well, wow, yes, I have actually. Um, I don't know their names. I don't know their names, but around I I was a guy tried to rob me last year at my gas station, and this
Mm-hmm.
the officers arrived after I alerted the police, and they disarmed the guy. He had tried to rob me and put the money in a paper bag, but they disarmed him um before he was able to get away. So I mean they're great guys, man.
When did that happen?
And that was like a year ago, and so
Oh, okay.
I mean like I said
So
I,
you
I
have
I mean I've never had an incident like this. Like I've taken on this I had this gas station for 20 years now for my family, and and they were just extremely professional, courteous guys, and I just think they did a really good job with handling handling that situation. I think they did all they can to handle this situation as well. So that's how I feel about them.
good. Good. Do you happen to remember if when and Mr. Delancey was shaking, did they say anything? Was there any exchange of words between the police officer and him?
Well, Mr. Delancey didn't say anything. He was just kind of twitching uncontrollably, and um, he was just flapping around, and nobody knew what was going on. And so, um, the police officers, they didn't know. They just tried to get him to stop moving, but they were just struggling, um, with him, and they weren't really, um, exchanging words because responding. He wasn't responding when I walked
Right.
over doing the thing, so he was just kind of flapping around and twitching, and um, that was it. They tried to put handcuffs on him to get him inside the car, but that didn't work too well.
Okay. Okay. Um, you said that there was a struggle. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Um, well, since his arms was like twitching and moving a lot on the cement, and he's getting skinned up pretty bad. Um, Officers tried to put the handcuffs on him, I guess to kind of stop his arms from moving, but they were moving so much that they couldn't grab hold on in a way to put him on. I guess the way they normally would. So that was it. That was the
Okay.
that was the extent of the struggle, in my opinion.
Okay. And you mentioned the handcuffs. Why do you think they put handcuffs on him?
I think they tried to put handcuffs on him just to kind of stop his arms from moving, just stop him from doing more harm to himself. Like if you just moving around and hands are skinning up all across the cement, um, maybe they felt like his hands wouldn't be able to do so if they were kind of controlled by the handcuffs, I guess, or
Okay.
kind of control the movement. I think.
Um, okay. And I apologize, I didn't ask you this earlier, but the man who fell down who was shaking, Mr. Delancey, had you seen him in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, I actually did. I I saw him. He's I've never known his name, but he's one of those guys that you see across the street. He looks kind of spaced out, kind of. I mean, he wasn't never. I would say he was a had a threatening look or nothing to him. Doesn't look threatening, but just kind of look spaced out, kind of hippie-ish, if you ask me. But that was
Okay.
pretty much the extent of
Okay. Okay. You'd mentioned he seemed a little spacey. Was there anything in
uh
particular that made you think that?
well, I guess just he's just one of those type of guys that looks kind of spaced out. Just um, maybe I don't know. Any guy that you see wandering around out in the middle of the day, they have nothing, um, nowhere to go. Sometimes I don't know if he has somewhere to go or not, but he just gave off that impression because he'll be around sometimes a little more often.
Okay. And let's go back to uh, when the handcuffs on him. What happened after that?
So yeah,
What happened after the police officers put um, Mr. Delancey, the handcuffs on him? What happened after that?
well, after that, um, they were trying to get him inside of the police car, but it was still a struggle because it was still moving. And they're trying to get him in the back of the police car. The emergency people showed up, and when the paramedics showed up, um, they seemed like they kind of took control of the situation from the um the police officers because one of them walked over to the police officer and next thing I know, um, the individual that was shaking, was being escorted, being handled by the paramedics instead of the police.
Do you know if there was a conversation between the paramedics and the police officers?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a long conversation, just said a few words and I said a few words and that was I that was that.
Okay. And how many paramedics showed up? Do you remember?
Um, yeah, I think it was two of them.
So the paramedics showed up and they had a conversation with the police officers. And what happened after that?
No, and after the EMS guy said what he said to the police officer, um, then they took control of the guy that was on the ground.
Do you know, I mean, what the conversation was between the paramedics and the police officers?
Ma'am, what the the EMS when he walked over, he said something like, um, "They don't train you, or don't you? Did they? I mean, did they train you how to uh handle somebody who's having a seizure, or epileptic seizure, something like that?" Um, and he told the officer, "If you're gonna hurt him, you're gonna harm him." And the officer didn't look at him at first. He just told him to mind your business because he was gonna. I mean, the officer was still um t- trying to take control of the situation because the guy was still moving around and stuff. So the officer didn't look back to really see that there was a paramedic. So I don't think he meant to tell him to mind his own business. But um, I think because he was just struggling with the guy, um, he didn't he didn't really have the time to look back and see that it was a paramedic. So then um the guy that was the paramedic said, "Okay, we're EMS. This is a medical situation. Um um and he pretty much saying, let the people who know what they're doing handle it." And that's when the officer looked back and kind of like relinquished um the guy that was shaking Delancey over to the paramedics.
Okay. So at what point did the paramedics check on Mr. Delancey, or was it after?
Um, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question fully. Can you repeat that one for me?
Yeah, the paramedics when they came to when they arrived, did they check on Mr. Clancy first, or did they have the conversation with police officers? At what point did they, if you remember, what point did they start
Well,
uh, looking at Mr. Delancey?
it was after, because when they pulled up, they were trying to get the officers were trying to get um um individual inside of the police car.
Okay. Did it look to you like Mr. Delancey had any injuries for the paramedics?
And this is the actual
Right?
yeah. I no, I, he definitely was injured. I know when I was when I was holding his head, um, I saw the blood coming out of his mouth. It got on me a little bit. So when the officers arrived, I left for a second and got the blood off of me. So I didn't know, you know, I didn't know what was going on with this guy. I didn't know why he was not responding. I didn't know whether he was sick or what have you. And I saw him sometimes looking spaced out. I know whether he was on drugs. I didn't know what type of disease may be going on at the time. So I washed the blood off off myself and came back. So it was definitely visibly injured. Yeah, before.
Okay. Okay. And did you notice, did he have any injuries that during the scuffle with the police officers? Did you notice any injuries after that?
I didn't know. I didn't notice um any injuries like I can just see, but I thought maybe his arms maybe hurt, his legs maybe hurt, just from all the kicking around and moving around, and when they're trying to put the handcuffs on, maybe something didn't go right. So I'm not 100% sure that he was injured, but um I think I can a reasonable person would probably feel that he got injured. Like he was injured. Now I think he maybe injured himself because he was moving around so much.
Okay. So what happened after the conversation with the between the paramedics and the police officers? What happened after that?
My paramedics took control of him and they put him in the emergency vehicle and drove him off.
Okay. Did you happen to notice um, anything that Mr. Delancey was wearing when you were trying to help him? Did you notice anything
Well, um,
unusual?
now that I'm trying to think about it, he didn't. I was so like overcome with situation. I don't even recall it was with him.
Sure. That's understandable. I'm sure I have a difficult time remembering
I,
details if I was in that same situation.
I really don't remember what clothes he had on.
Okay, well, how about a bracelet? Did you notice if he had a bracelet?
No, I didn't notice the bracelet. He
Okay,
was moving around so much. I couldn't really see the bracelet.
okay. And do you know either of the paramedics that responded?
No, I never seen those. I never seen those guys before.
Okay. And how many were there, paramedics?
Two.
Two? Were
Yes.
they male or female? Do you remember?
Um. Well. Um. They both were male. Um. I just remember it was two. And the other guy didn't really, um, I don't know, I stopped paying so much attention to Mr. Delaney, but it was two of them. They got him on the stretcher, and they just drove him off. Yeah, but it's two men that I remember.
Okay. And the police officers that had responded, you indicated that you'd met them once before, uh, probably about a year ago. Do you recall, was it one of the police officers that was trying to get Mr. Delancey into the vehicle when the scuffle happened? Was it both of them?
Well, they were both they were working together, trying to get him in the vehicle. So it wasn't like one was doing it and the other was standing back. They both were trying to get the situation under control. You know, being, I mean, just doing their job. Both of them were helping out, doing their job.
Okay. I have been taking some notes while we've been discussing what occurred that day. Is there anything else that you can think of, any details you might have left out that may be helpful in determining what all occurred that day?
I think um, from my recollection, I mean, I've told you pretty much everything that I know. I just,
Okay. Do you have you ever had a conversation with Miss before,
Mr. Ho,
Mr. Delancey, the man who was injured?
no, I never talked to him. Cause I just saw him walking around and looking spaced out. I kind of thought he was on drugs or something. That's the spaced out look just gave me that, gave me that.
Okay. And outside of the time that the police officers responded when you had the holdup at your store, at your gas station, have you had any other interactions with the police officers besides that?
Yeah, no, that was it. And they came in and actually did an excellent job. Great, great, great job they did.
Okay.
Nothing violent occurred. They were not violent, but they were not violent when they came to respond to Mr. Delancey. They just trying to get the situation under control.
Right. And when you say they weren't violent, you're saying the police officers?
Yeah, I said, yeah, no, exactly. They weren't violent in their approach. They were just trying to get the situation under control.
Okay. So, did you notice when the paramedics were bringing Mr. Delancey to the ambulance more injuries than he did when you initially were holding his head and trying to help him?
Um, he was moving uncontrollably when I was holding him, and I don't think his head got injured anymore. I'm not sure. Any injuries, that's injuries I wouldn't be able to see visibly, so I wouldn't know.
Okay. Um, okay, well, let me, here's a copy of my notes. If you'll take a few minutes, would you mind looking over and letting me know if I have any of the uh, details that you've described incorrect?
Okay.
Would you look at it, look it over?
Okay.
Did it look okay to you?
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
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 Would you be willing to sign the statement?
Oh, um, I I don't know. I just don't. I don't like signing things below. I don't know.
Sure.
But is it teasing or not? Uh, uh, Is it? I mean, you think I'm lying or something? What do I have to sign it?
Well, I can understand you may be a little bit nervous about signing it, especially I don't know how familiar you or if you've ever done one of these before, but um, the point of it is that it's an accurate portrayal of how you remember the events to be. It doesn't change anything that happened. It's just that our conversation that's the conversation that we had, and it may help you at some point in the future to have something to go back to that about this conversation, kind of a record of it to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So it'd be great if you would sign it. I can totally understand if you're just not comfortable signing it, and that's okay. But it would really help us out if you would.
What if what if something what if something I mean things happen so fast that attorney Smith that I'm not. What if something happened that I didn't say today? What if something happened that's that's somebody's? What if this guy is injured beyond what I know? I mean, I don't want to sign nothing to make me liable or not, because I gave a truthful testimony the other day, from what I remember. I just don't. I don't know. What if that happens? What if something else comes up? And
Well, the best part about signing a statement is to have a record of what, according to you, happened. Um, there is no guarantee that someone else won't come and talk to you and ask you to do the same thing. There's never a guarantee that you aren't going to have any kind of liability. Hopefully you won't, but no one can promise you that you won't. Um, but it basically what it is it gets down in writing the events that occurred as you saw them. So it keeps from me adding things that you didn't say, and um, it keeps the story the most accurate in the way that you portrayed it, in the way that you related to me. So that's probably the best benefit that comes from signing statements.
okay, well, um, I'll sign it then. I definitely.
Great, great. I appreciate it. Well, I truly appreciate you taking the time today to sit down and meet with me, and hopefully we won't need to ask you any other questions, and hopefully no one else will either. So it keeps you from, I know, keeps you from operating your business and ties you up. But we truly appreciate the time you took today. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I think I've asked them all.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time again.
Thank you.
All right.